At this point, everyone has to be aware that LEGO is releasing a $1,000 Death Star set, the biggest and most expensive LEGO Star Wars set that they have ever produced, and I thought we should take a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of LEGO's upcoming behemoth. Now, this video is sponsored by Whatnot, who is helping me give away 4 of these $1,000 Death Stars, so more on them and how you could potentially win one after the good. You'd be surprised, by the way, I have just as many things picked out to talk about for the good about this set as I do the bad and ugly combined, and I was really trying to find more topics, but this is what I came up with. Let's get into it with the good. We've got Easter eggs galore in the $1,000 Death Star. It's something that in their reveal video, they really leaned heavily on as something, as like a reason you should buy the set, basically. And there's a lot of cool Easter eggs in here, including a sticker that shows the Stormtrooper height. I think that one is particularly fun on the back of the model. If you look on the 360 view on lego.com, you can actually see a mini kit hidden in the back of the Death Star. There's a couple of really cool poster wall stickers. One has a bunch of like wanted posters and things, and then another one feels like it's from Anakin or Darth Vader's like personal bedroom, where it's got Padme on there, a Naboo fighter, a lot of fun stuff like that. Love those sticker details. You've also got the hot tub room with the hot tub Stormtrooper that's hidden in the top of the Death Star. It's not something you really see in any of the promotional material. They didn't really want to show it off during their reveal video, so I do consider that an Easter egg. I don't know if you'd consider the exhaust port on the back an Easter egg, but there is an exhaust port leading to the reactor in the middle of the Death Star, so you could blow it up, and I think technically it does have a feature of blowing up if you just drop the Death Star on the ground from an adequate height. And then we've also got the Bag 66 Palpatine Easter egg, which is something they talked a lot about in the reveal video as well. That one's pretty fun. And according to the designer of the set, there's another Easter egg hidden within the Death Star laser assembly, but he didn't want to give up what it was, and he wanted people to figure it out on their own. So I guess we'll figure that out when we actually get to build the set for ourselves, or at least the people that decided to want to spend $1,000 on it get to build the set. But those are the major Easter eggs that we know about as of now, and I genuinely think the Easter eggs are a real huge highlight on the $1,000 Death Star. It's really cool that they do some fun stuff with something like this. Another huge thing in the good category to me is the functionality, starting with the window to Alderaan. On one side, you've just got normal Alderaan, and then you can have it flip over to a blown up version of Alderaan. Really cool stuff there. Now, you've also got a trash chute in the set, where if you're in the detention block, you can open up the door and drop a minifig in, and they will drop all the way down into the trash compactor of the Death Star. That's really cool. I wasn't sure if that was going to make it into the set. It was very hard to tell from a lot of the early leaked images, but it's really cool that it did. We've also, of course, got the trash compactor functionality, which is even better than I thought it would be. So, of course, the doors close in on Luke, Han, Leia, Chewbacca, and at the same time, the eye for the Dianaga raises up. It's so cool that it functions like that. So I think that's a 10 out of 10 functionality thing there. You've, of course, got the elevator that runs the entire distance top to bottom on the Death Star. There's 3 elements that come together to make the functionality of this elevator just so good to me. So the knob on top is something that you just twist, and the elevator moves up and down, floor to floor. Each of the doors can be individually slid to the right to open up and reveal your characters within the elevator. And then how do you know which level the elevator is on? You know, it could easily get lost on any of the 6 floors, and you got to check all of the doors to figure out where the elevator is. Well, apparently there's a little white strip that you'll see when the elevator is on each specific floor, so you know where it is even behind the closed door. So I thought that was incredibly genius. All 3 of those things come together for an amazing function for the elevator. Above Obi-Wan in the tractor beam room, you can have Luke and Leia on the swing, so that is a function to swing them back and forth, as well as the bridge, which is retractable. You can have it extend out, or you can have it retract back in. Pretty cool function there. There's also some stuff that can be easily removed from the set, both sections and panels. Starting off with the panels, you've got the panel right above the hot tub, and that just pulls away to give you easy access to that hot tub room. You've also got a panel on the other side where the Death Star cannon is, and that actually lifts up and away from the Death Star. It doesn't completely remove, but it gives you actual access to that Death Star cannon, and then you can close it back off to give it a much cleaner look when you don't want to be accessing that. So I think that's pretty cool. And then as far as sections that can be removed, you can see little rail things throughout the Death Star, and so you can kind of pick out what can and can't be removed by looking for that. But one specific example was given above the trash compactor. That section is removable, not necessarily to play with that section, but so that it's easier to put your hands in to place minifigures or remove minifigures from the trash compactor. So something like that that. Clearly very well thought out and makes for a great function if you want to remove your sections and play around with it a little bit more than you could otherwise. Kind of a short good one here, but the way all of the rooms are interconnected for the minifigures to walk through and get to is really cool. They can go up and down the elevator, in and out of doorways and through hallways, and each room is basically accessible without actually ever having to leave the Death Star. Kind of cool. The minifig count, of course, has to make it into the good category with 38 minifigures, the most ever in a LEGO Star Wars set. How could that not be a good thing, frankly? Now, there are some issues there, but we'll save that for the bad or ugly category. As far as the good for minifigures go, we've got some new characters with the Imperial Dignitary, a couple of the Imperials that we see at the table, among some others, and then we've also got some updated returning ones, like the Farm Boy Luke is updated, new, looks pretty good, Obi-Wan slightly updated. So there's a lot to like, I think, about the minifigures, but I unfortunately think there's going to be a lot to dislike, so we'll get to that. Now, another great thing here is the Imperial Shuttle. Actually, I think the designer said it's his favorite part of the set. I wholeheartedly agree with him. It's amazing to see a build like that at a scale like this and actually have it look good. Like, it's incredible. It reminds me very much of 2018's Cloud City and how amazing it was to see a small scale Cloud Car and Slave One, and they actually looked kind of decent, right? And here we are 7 years later, and while downscaling has unfortunately taken quite a stranglehold on the LEGO Star Wars theme in a lot of ways that people don't want it to, in a case like this, it's very important to be able to downscale something like an Imperial Shuttle to have it fit within your Death Star, because it's not like you can really make this Death Star any bigger to accommodate a larger Imperial Shuttle. So I love this Imperial Shuttle, fits the minifig inside, just really cool looking build. It's also one of my favorite vehicles or ships from Star Wars. My favorite set ever is the UCS Imperial Shuttle, so I've got a little bias there, but gotta love that Imperial Shuttle. Next up in the good category, and I know people might disagree with me on this, but the shape. And I'll explain why I think the shape is good. I know people want a big spherical Death Star, and don't get me wrong, I'd love a big spherical Death Star just like this again someday. But a Death Star with all the different rooms that it has like this would not be well suited to a spherical shape with panels, which is, I know what people, including myself, envisioned a $1,000 Death Star would look like, but I think what they've done here is really, really smart and works way better than the other way around, because the issue you run into is if you give a big spherical Death Star with an interior panels, you're still spending the $1,000, right? And now you can only enjoy your Death Star in one way or another. You don't get to enjoy the full $1,000 at the same time. You're either enjoying just the outside 500 or the inside 500. And I think this is a very good different adult direction to go with for the Death Star, because the other two spherical Death Stars with minifigs were clearly play sets for kids, right? That's what they were designed as. And this is designed for a different type of audience. And I really I like that. I think it works. I know a lot of people don't like that. I understand it. I can see where you're coming from. But for what LEGO is doing here, it makes a ton of sense. Still think they should make a big spherical Death Star with panels and things, but I don't think it should have an interior, or even if it does, maybe a room or two at most as just kind of a for fun thing, because it's just a lot of wasted budget and things you don't actually get to enjoy as part of the money that you spent. So that's the way that I feel about that. And yeah, I'm kind of surprised that I've come around to it, because when I first found out like 8 months ago the shape of this Death Star, I was basically distraught. I could not be consoled. I was like, what are they doing? Why would they do this? This is horrible, disgusting. Like, what the heck? But it's grown on me. I like the shape. I'm very okay with the shape. I think it's good. I think it's good. I've said it. It's good. The final good thing I have is this video they put out to reveal the set. It was a shockingly good reveal video for the Death Star. Of course, it had leaked beforehand, but that's not the point. Like, the video they made was amazing. And if you haven't watched it, you really should watch it on lego.com, or watch me watch it on my live stream reaction, I suppose. I was shocked at how good it was. They showed off the prototype version of this Death Star, which was incredibly cool to see, because they talk a lot about sketch models and things from time to time about different sets, and we never get to see them, but getting to see it was incredible. They also just went so in depth on a lot of the design process and the Easter eggs. Like, it was a really fun, cool behind the scenes video. So much better than a lot of the crap that they've done for the last 5 or so years. It just honestly put a smile on my face to see a good lego.com Star Wars video. It's probably the best video they have put out since 2009 with the Mon Calamari Cruiser set release. So pretty crazy there that they actually made a good video. I was really, really happy with that. So those are all 7 of my topics for the good on this $1,000 Death Star. And while I might not have anything else good to say about it, I do have some good news that this video is sponsored by Whatnot, and they're helping me give away 4 of the $1,000 Death Star sets. This is going to be taking place in conjunction with New York Comic Con live on the M&R Productions Whatnot page, October 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, 4 separate days, 4 epic streams, where I'm going to be auctioning all kinds of LEGO Star Wars minifigures, including the good, the bad, and the ugly, starting as low as $1 each. And of course, on top of the amazing auctions taking place on my Whatnot page on those 4 days, at the end of each stream, I'm going to be giving away one of the $1,000 Death Star sets. The Death Star giveaways aren't region locked, and you don't have to buy anything to win. You just have to be present when the giveaway actually begins and press enter. If you haven't signed up for Whatnot yet, use my link in the description below and you'll get a $15 credit to use for your first purchase on the app. And I hope to see you guys there for the 4 epic Death Star giveaway streams. Thank you very much to Whatnot for making it happen, and I can't wait. The first bad topic is going to be the price. $1,000, no matter how you slice it, get it, slice of Death Star, was always going to be too much for people. It didn't matter, I think, if LEGO gave you the value of 2 of these Death Stars, if they gave you 100 minifigures, you know, people would have just scoffed at $1,000. It doesn't matter what LEGO brought to the table. Now, I don't think what LEGO brought to the table is worth $1,000, regardless of my idea that it doesn't matter, right? Specifically, what we'll talk about in the ugly category, a little preview for you, is the lack of dual molded legs and quality on some of these figs. It's just unacceptable for the price. So I don't think the value is there just straight up when you look at the minifigs. Like, you're going to put out your most expensive set ever, and you're not going to put the best possible versions of things in your most expensive set ever. That's a super bad idea. LEGO, super bad. Anyone could tell you that. You know, Apple makes iPhones. Apple puts the best possible stuff in their most expensive iPhones. That's how it works, right? You don't give someone who's spending more money a lower quality thing. That's not going to go over well ever, right? Never, ever, ever. So just from that perspective alone, regardless of whether or not I think everything in the box is worth $1,000 and the piece count is good enough for $1,000 and all that, like, the minifigs aren't there, and therefore the price is bad. Just right there off the bat. Now, I think the set isn't as overpriced as a lot of people are saying. That's why I didn't quite throw it in the ugly. I don't think this is like a $600 or $700 set masquerading as $1,000. It's effectively the size of the UCS Falcon, just turned on its side, of course, and it's got 1,500 more pieces. It's got 30 more minifigs. Of course, piece count can be manipulated, but we won't get into all that here. But I don't think the price is super horrendous. I think it's probably a $900, $950 set, and they were like, yeah, let's just make it $1,000 so we can get that out of the way. And I wish that, yeah, let's make it $1,000 so we can get that out of the way, also included making the minifigs as good as they should have been anyway. But anyway, the price, bad. I think everyone can agree it's at least bad, if not ugly. I can understand if you're coming at it and thinking it's ugly, but either way, the price. Next in the bad, we have the ugly backside of the Death Star, and it is what it is. The back of the Death Star was never going to be pretty here. If LEGO had used a bunch of pieces to cover it up and make it look nice, well, that's just a bunch of wasted budget that could have gone elsewhere. But then again, LEGO always claims their budget wasn't good enough to include things like dual molded legs or printed arms, which should have been there for $1,000. So it's always this weird thing with that. But, you know, it would have been a lot of wasted stuff there. It would have potentially increased the price for us up to, you know, $1,050, $1,100, who knows, or even worse, reduce the LEGO's profit margin. But while yes, the backside of the Death Star is objectively very ugly, I think it's a quite simple thing here. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's the back of the Death Star. It goes against a wall. It goes against a shelf. Every single LEGO set I have, with very few exceptions, if any actually, go up against something, right? This Death Star is going to be displayed in one way and one way only. There's not a problem with that. That's how it is. That's how the set was designed. Like, I don't know why that should be a problem to anybody, but I only put this in the bad category because it is objectively ugly and looks horrible, but it's supposed to. It can't look any other way without wasting a bunch of resources for no reason. Also in the bad, I've got not enough Stormtroopers. And this one doesn't quite meet the ugly criteria because I think people have more Stormtroopers and you can just throw in your own. But I also think it's $1,000 and LEGO should just include enough. I mean, LEGO showed the prototype of this model during their reveal video, and you can see in there's like 13 Stormtroopers, I think, in that set. And it's like, well, why didn't we get 13 still? At least, right? You got to be able to fill all those hallways and rooms. And if you look through LEGO's pictures of the model, they consistently move Stormtroopers around to fill the space, because otherwise you just have empty hallways in your product pictures and it would look horrible. So yeah, there's not enough Stormtroopers in this set. Like, this one shot alone uses all of the Stormtroopers in the set, and then you can't have any anywhere else. Like, it's so lame to me that they didn't include more Stormtroopers for $1,000. But of course, hey, they've got you covered. A $40 battle pack is available exclusively from LEGO and LEGO.com. Go get it. Like, yeah, that's the business plan here. And that brings us to the ugly of the $1,000 Death Star, the worst of the worst, starting with the GWP, aka the gift with purchase. It's the set that you receive for free if you buy this Death Star within the first week of its availability. LEGO does this with sets all the time. They do this with LEGO Star Wars sets all the time. It's nothing new. What is new is that this build is something that actually attaches to your $1,000 Death Star and makes it feel a lot more complete than it does otherwise. Here it is with the TIE Fighter, here it is without the TIE Fighter, and you can see it now feels very empty without the TIE Fighter once you've seen it with the TIE Fighter. And so LEGO is forcing customers to buy this set within the first week of its release if they want to have the actual complete Death Star as it was probably originally intended, because this GWP feels more like it was something that they had originally included with the Death Star. I mean, think about iPhones, right? They used to include the charger, they used to include the headphones, right? And then they took them away and now they sell them to you. Kind of the same deal here, right? They're taking away something that clearly was supposed to be there with the TIE Fighter, a couple more stormtroopers, and the pilot, and this really cool cart, and now they're just giving it back to you, but only if you buy it in the first week, and then after that, you're screwed and you'll never have the complete Death Star the way it was intended. Just insane to me. I mean, even in the very first prototype model that they showed off, the TIE Fighter was there, and if that's not proof that the TIE Fighter should have been included in the set for the price of admission, I don't know what is. The GWP for this Death Star could have been anything. It should not have been something that had to be attached to the Death Star, right? That set should be a complete box. Everything included should fill the set and be done. You should not have anything else that is DLC for that set. I hate the idea that they did it that way. Now, the other thing with the GWP is it's also horribly ugly, and it doesn't include arm printing for the TIE Fighter pilot. Oh, come on! It's a $1,000 set's GWP. You're not getting the best possible version of the TIE Fighter pilot. The TIE Fighter itself is just horrendous looking. It's arguably worse looking than a 4 Plus model from the year 2019. And whether or not you actually think it's worse than it was in 2019, the fact that it can be argued is crazy enough to me. I hate it. I think they could have done a lot of cool other GWPs, Death Star related or not, but certainly not something that needed to be connected into the Death Star, right? Like Palpatine's lightsaber would have perfectly continued their lightsaber tradition that they've had going on for a few years at this point, but for some reason they threw that out of the window to, I guess, repackage something that was already originally probably packaged in the $1,000 Death Star. So very good stuff there from LEGO with the GWP. Just crazy, crazy. There's a litany of figures in the set that needed dual molded legs and just didn't get them, which is just unacceptable for a $1,000 set. And it's stuff we've seen before in cheaper sets, right? I guess no matter what, it would have happened in a cheaper set, but you know, it's stuff we've seen before. It's unacceptable that it's not happening here in their most expensive, best set ever, UCS. Ultimate being the operative word in Ultimate Collector Series, right? It doesn't feel very ultimate if it's not the ultimate version of the thing every time, right? So C-3PO not getting the dual molded leg is insane. $6 keychain gets that dual molded leg, but they didn't have enough budget to make it happen in this $1,000 set. You also had a bunch of Imperial officers in this set that needed dual molded legs and did not get them. It's just crazy unacceptable. And the minifig designer has been breaking out the excuses for the minifigs in this set. He came ready to play. So they did some interviews, and I'm actually going to save my reactions to those for another video, but let's just say it ain't pretty. The excuses are out in full force, including reliable of consistency. So yeah, we have some very big issues with the minifigs for $1,000. It's just crazy that we're not getting the best version of every minifig that we possibly could in this set. That shouldn't have even been a question mark from the beginning designing this set. Every figure should have been the top tier version they could possibly produce, and they didn't do that. And so, you know, that kind of wraps back into the price. Is it worth $1,000? Well, if LEGO's not willing to give you the top version, no, it's not. So moving on, in the ugly, we have the box art. Well, lack thereof in some cases, because the front of the box has no art. Like, it's just a black void with, I guess, a few stars and a red hue behind it, but mostly artless, right? And then you get the side of the box, which is this really weird render of the Death Star that's not actually a picture from a movie. And then I know it's not AI, but I know people just like to use it looks like AI as kind of a knee-jerk reaction to things now. But it kind of looks like an AI picture of a Death Star that you would come up with. Like, what the heck even is this side picture for the art on this Death Star box? Why not use something from Rogue One or from the original trilogy to show the Death Star in universe? Like, it would look so cool there, but instead they use this really weird picture. The back of the box is also just completely uninspiring. Like, I think back to 2008, and it's basically taken what they did here and gotten rid of anything that felt kind of fun, and they just did, like, I don't know, 12 boxes, and that's it, and it's all just in order, and it's no fun. And then with the boxes inside of the Death Star, it's even weirder. Like, they do this internal view looking out from the Death Star, which is kind of cool in some aspects, but like here we have a actual movie shot from A New Hope, I believe, and then over here we've just got this render of the Millennium Falcon from nothing. Like, why not use all actual movie shots of the Death Star and stuff? Like, there's another real movie shot, but it's this weird disjointed mixture of both actual movie shots and then like weird render things that aren't actually from the movie that I just don't understand. Like, we could have seen a lot of cool movie shots on those boxes and we just don't. So I think the packaging is generally very lame for what it is. It's like 8 different people worked on 8 different parts of the box and none of them talk to each other. That's how that box feels to me. So the packaging experience doesn't feel that cool. Then we've got another pretty obvious ugly for the $1,000 Death Star, and that would be the sticker sheet. It's a massive sticker sheet, including over 50 stickers for the set. Not prints, but stickers. Now, there are some cool printed parts in the set, like the Death Star lights, I think, are printed, which is awesome, but you can see there's just so many stickers here in the set. It's very disappointing to people that thought for $1,000 you might get a few more prints than you would otherwise. You just don't. Just a giant sticker sheet. And I usually find myself pretty easygoing when it comes to stickers, but for $1,000, you'd think you could do a little bit more here in the printing department. But also, for $1,000, the color of the stickers is still not fixed, right? We can see in LEGO's official reveal video that the color of the sticker on the elevator doesn't even come close to matching the color of the elevator door, and it looks really bad. And this is a $1,000 set. It shouldn't look bad. But then again, you look to sets like the UCS Venator. They didn't care then. It's not surprising that they don't care now. Anyway, let me know your good, bad, and ugly on this UCS Death Star in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, hit the like button, and you can check out more LEGO Star Wars content on the end screen now. See ya.